Good evening, everybody. It's my pleasure to be invited here to present to you tonight about this very important issue in this very important office. And I wanted to express my appreciation both to board members, to members of the group, and to folks from the general public who have turned out tonight. I think given our current state of affairs with the fiscal crisis that government's facing on virtually every level, and with the lack of confidence in government, again on every level, it's critical that the citizens engage in important issues, that officials and candidates engage with the citizens in order to better understand one another and to help sort these issues out. And so I appreciate your interest in this matter, and I wanted to thank you for that. There's hope, I think, and I'll tell you why, and Steve might be experiencing this too. I'm now out walking precincts, I'm out talking to different groups, and I'm very encouraged to find out in that you are not alone. There's a lot of people who are very interested and who are very engaged, maybe now more than ever, in civic issues, and to my surprise, even in the city attorney's office. And so there's hope. Thank you very much. Let's keep pushing forward on these things, and hopefully we'll solve some of the problems together. Before I talk about myself and my candidacy and my qualifications for this office, I thought it might be worth a little bit extra time and to talk about the city attorney's office and the importance of the city attorney's office in the efficient functioning of local government. It's really not anything that anybody's had to think about until very recently. I'm not sure why you would think about it. Now, of course, with the city attorney being an elected position, not only do you have a chance to think about it, it actually matters what you think. And so I think it's worth talking about, at least in my experience, what the proper role and function is of the city attorney, so we can kind of educate one another about that. And of course, a lot of us learn things about this office from watching City of San Diego, our neighbor to the north, who had a passion play, a little bit of a soap opera on that very issue play out over the last couple of years. And so I think we view the office and its role and functionality through that prism a little bit, and we can learn some things for that. First of all, in my view, the most important thing that the city attorney does in local government is to provide high-quality legal advice. Okay, it's the primary core duty. It's very easy to say, it sounds simple, but it's very challenging to actually conduct properly in practice. And the reason for that is manifold. One of the reasons is city government these days, and every level of government, is incredibly complex. The federal laws and state laws and local laws that govern and regulate how cities do business are voluminous and constantly changing. And you need to be able to keep up with that and keep track of that. You need to know really a little bit about everything, and ideally, a lot about a couple of key issues in order to be able to spot issues and to be able to represent the city properly. It is to both vigorously prosecute and to defend against lawsuits. Frivolous lawsuits are a fact of life these days in modern society. They need to be discouraged. You need to pick and choose how you handle different types of disputes. And if a lawsuit comes in that's frivolous, you need to defend it vigorously and communicate to the party filing that vigorous lawsuit that you're not afraid to go to trial. You're not afraid to defend the city, because you need not only to win that in that action, you need to send a message out to other people who might do similar things to the city, and it happens fairly frequently, to discourage that type of conduct. City of San Diego, as we all know, and watching that, the city attorney got into a number of different situations where arguably the city was filing lawsuits that didn't make sense to file. Down here in the city of Chula Vista, from time to time, there's a headline where there's a settlement paid to someone, and people throw up their hands and they wonder, why the heck are we paying this person money? It doesn't sound like there's any type of liability in that case. But you don't always know the facts and the details, of those things, so I can't quibble with how how the city attorney who's in there now is a very good litigator, handled that. But it's very important that if you do settle a case, you send the right message out to people and say, these were circumstances where it was appropriate for us to settle the case. It does not mean that people can come to the city and cash checks by filing lawsuits against the city. So, 3 core responsibilities, again, to facilitate good government, to provide high-quality legal advice, and to protect taxpayer resources. I think critical in order to perform the duties of that office properly. So, why am I the best candidate for this job? I think given the importance of that job in the scheme of local government, it is critically important that the person who is the city attorney for City of Chula Vista understand, first of all, the role of the city attorney and have the professional qualifications in order to back up their understanding of that role. Secondly, because the city attorney's position is now an elected position, and while the city is the client, is ultimately accountable to the people, I think it is extremely important that the city attorney for City of Chula Vista be of the community and be connected with the community in important ways. I think that's important as a candidate to demonstrate dedication to community service, but I think ultimately it's important in the office of city attorney as well. You're going to need from time to time benefit of the doubt from the community and know that people trust you and know that you're dedicated to service. You're going to need relationships with different stakeholders in order to forge partnerships and to solve problems, and again, to get the benefit of the doubt in what you're doing. And I think that's really critical in that office and in all elected offices. Without wanting to sound too arrogant about my qualifications, if those are the right criteria, a professional with experience in the areas of municipal law and the areas of law that are necessary, and being of the community and connected to the community, I think I'm really the ideal candidate for this position. As I mentioned earlier in my presentation, I've been practicing for 22 years. 11 of those were in the City of Chula Vista City Attorney's Office. And when I was there, my practice focused primarily on the city's business transactions, redevelopment projects, land use issues, and franchises. A lot of these things are exactly the types of things, public-private partnership projects, that most of our city leadership now are identifying as what we need to do now in order to remake ourselves, in order to revitalize the city, in order to change our economy over from a building house economy to one that creates jobs and is able to finance and encourage and facilitate big projects in the city in order to encourage further investment. So exactly the right kind of experience for the future of the City of Chula Vista. Projects that I've worked on that you're probably familiar with include the Cricket Amphitheater project, lead attorney on that, the Chula Vista Veterans Home project, the B.F. Goodrich relocation agreement, which actually laid the groundwork for all the Bayfront redevelopment that we're talking about right now. Those are things that I've worked on, including affordable housing projects and other types of projects. But my background isn't only in public law. Before I came to the City of Chula Vista, I was an attorney at a big law firm now defunct called Brodeck, Flager & Harrison. I had a lot of valuable experience there. When I left the city in 2004, I formed my own small practice, now law partnership with my partner Byron Ray, focused on representing individuals and businesses with issues and projects they want to process through the city. And so I had both, I think, the inside experience with municipal law and the experience in dealing with people who often are frustrated, and engaging with the cities. And so I think that sympathy and understanding is very important to a government official of every type and very useful in the city attorney's office. In terms of my own connections with the community, I'll wrap up here very quickly. I've lived in this town for about 18 years. My wife's family's been here since the 40s. I'm involved in a significant number of community activities, ranging from the Rotary Club to an affordable housing developer that did the Los Vecinos project down over here, to the Chamber of Commerce and Third Avenue Village Association.